She's a juggler. A juggler. How cool is that? Everybody's cool today. Isn't that amazing? Literally. A recovering structural engineer. STEM before your own time, huh? And a world record holding expert juggler. She shares her unique approach to problem solving and life juggling. She's been on ABC News, Fox TV, Huffington Post Live, Good Day Sacramento, Good Day Philadelphia, The Late Show with David Letterman, Off-Broadway and TEDx stages, and I can tell you that she's done about 5 or 6 of these women conferences in the last week, practically to motivate people. So let's welcome Jen Slaw.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you, Marilyn, so much for all your effort in organizing this. It's fantastic, and for inviting me to be a part of it. Loved hearing about your work, Adrian. And what I want to talk to you about tonight is really about connecting to your core to follow your own unique path. Obviously, Adrian is doing that, and many of you in this room, I'm sure, are already doing that. But I wanted to throw out a question. Do any of you feel like you're falling asleep in any area of your life, like you're just going through the motions? And it could be frenetic, fast-paced motions, but you're just kind of going through the motion. You're not really in touch with, what motivates you. And I want to take you on a little journey back in time to 2004 to my engineering cubicle in the city on 23rd Street, as we're perusing through manuals and the steel construction manual and figuring out the loads and the stress and calculating the flange thickness and beam depth required to support the maximum bending stress on a certain beam. And I see you guys, the eyes are glazing over already. Some of you are starting to nod off. And this is what was happening to me. I had spent a lot of time, energy, and money earning my engineering degree. And now that I was doing it for a few years, I was starting to feel unfulfilled, unenthused. I missed, feeling like I was really getting a chance to exercise my creativity and be connected to other people, picture cubicle walls, and also just the chance to see projects realized. As you can imagine, engineering design projects often take years to see the results of your work. Meanwhile, I was juggling, I was performing, and I could see the reaction, I could see the results of my work immediately in the reaction of an audience member, and that was extremely rewarding for me. I had learned how to juggle in the 6th grade. I took a risk. I joined the middle school juggling club when I was the only girl in the club. At the time, it didn't seem like a courageous thing. I loved juggling. My teacher taught our class how to juggle as a lesson in focus and concentration. And so I joined the juggling club. This teacher told us on a regular basis that girls are better than boys. So it wasn't a big deal. I did it. That love stuck with me all through high school and college, and I juggled on the side. Made a little money to pay my way through college. And so when it got to the point where I was unenthused with my engineering job and I was falling asleep at my cubicle and daydreaming about performing, I realized I had to make a change. So people always ask me, how did you do it? How did you work up the courage or stupidity to leave a stable engineering job and become a professional juggler? What was your aha moment? And I can't say that there was one aha moment, but it was a gradual process of feeling like I wasn't where I was meant to be and that I needed to make a change. And so it got to the point where I just did it. I'll figure out the details as I go. I took did a few things to prepare, like going to my doctor's appointments before I wouldn't have health insurance anymore, and moving to a cheaper apartment in Brooklyn with a Craigslist roommate, and, things like that, lining up some regular jobs at FBO Schwartz and teaching with the Big Apple Circus. And I was really lucky because it was a good time with my engineering firm where they needed help, and they let me stay on part-time for about a year. So I had a little bit of a transition period. And after that year, I got laid off. They laid off all the part-time people, and I went to my now husband's cubicle. He's a civil engineer. And I said, I got laid off. I was excited. And he said, this is not the reaction most people normally have. But it was the final push I needed. It was easy to hang on to that security blanket, that stability, and it was the push I needed to really pursue what I was passionate about and really give it a try. And so, I've had so many great experiences as a professional juggler, from performing just across the river, starting out at the South Street Seaport, to being on Letterman, performing at Lincoln Center, doing commercials in the Off-Broadway run. And along the way, I got involved with a charity called Juggling Life, and I now direct the charity. And our mission is to engage, inspire, and emotionally heal ill and underprivileged youth through juggling and interactive circus arts programs. And thank you. Really exciting, the work that we're doing. I started out just as a volunteer, going to an event, and was really touched by the transformation that I saw in these kids. And so I was invited to speak about the charity's work at a TEDx conference in Princeton, and just how we were using this little act of juggling as a tool to help these young people redefine what's possible in their lives. And so that started to get me thinking about, there's a bigger picture here, and maybe juggling could be a tool. The principles of juggling are so applicable to our daily lives, our personal lives, and our business lives. And so I started to put some programs together and, lean more towards speaking and training and using juggling just as a tool to help to get those messages across. And that brings me to where I am with you here today. So, I had to try it. I had to pursue this love of juggling because being on stage and performing and creating was where I felt most myself, most in the moment, most comfortable. And the cool or magical part was that juggling itself actually ingrained in me the mindset to make this happen. Because as a juggler, you believe that it takes practice, process, patience, perseverance, all of these things that we need as we go through life and make these changes in our lives to really follow our passion. So I'm not advising you all to leave your jobs and become a professional juggler, but I know there's some aspect of your personal or work life where you can feel more connected and engaged. So I want to challenge you just to think about that today, and because ultimately that leads us to being more balanced and to living a more balanced and fulfilling life. And I know you're all here because you believe in creating positive change in your own lives and the lives of those around you. And I heard a quote recently that change is only disruptive when it comes from the outside in. That was great, and often it is coming at us, and we have to deal with it and react to it, and it can throw us off balance. And I'll give you some tips for balance. There's some tips on your postcards there. But we want to really look at creating change from within. How do we juggle more? How do we establish that balance? How do we build connections? How do we integrate new ideas and think creatively? And how do we become more effective leaders? So I believe we really make change that sticks by building and nurturing connections. And by connections, I mean, of course, the connections between all of us. We're building networks of value, and that's part of the reason why you're here. But also looking at how do you connect the pieces of your life. And I look at it, of course, as juggling. You hear a lot of talk about work-life balance, but there's not a work you over here and a life you over here, right? There's one you, and everything is integrated, and it's one big mess of a juggling act. But if we can figure out, what the pieces are that we're juggling, and if we can strengthen the connections between them, then this can really help us to feel more balanced and to better manage that level of stress in our lives. So we have to really, look at connecting our strengths, our passions, and our core values to find that balance. So what I'd like to do is give you my 4 strategies. They're outlined on your postcards there. But my 4 strategies that I found really helpful, they come from the principles of juggling, and it's really simple. I'm a juggler, so I start out with the basic building block of juggling, the ball. B-A-L-L, I love acronyms, makes it easy to remember. So these strategies I find helpful just in terms of, again, honing in on what's important to you, and then also establishing that balance and being more productive along the way. So we'll just get right into it. Break it down. Break it down, right? Set goals, but break them down into smaller, achievable steps. We've all heard this before, but it's really helpful to internalize this, and even just in terms of figuring out your why, your passion, it can feel a little overwhelming to think about what is my entire purpose in this entire life, but what excites you and scares you on a daily basis, and if you can tap into that, tap into what you like to do as a child. I never thought that something I learned in 6th grade would become my career, so you never know how that comes to play. And in juggling, we start with one ball, we build the skill slowly to do 2 and 3, and we have to learn to focus on one thing at a time. So important, right? Multitasking, overrated, right? So I want to show you juggling 3. Even though I'm juggling 3 balls here, there's really only one ball in the air at a time, right? And for that split second, my job is to focus on that particular ball. And you can see that all of the balls are connected by timing. So if I throw one ball particularly high into the air, I've got to wait longer before releasing the next ball, right? Otherwise, I have too many balls in the air at once, and it becomes more difficult to sustain the pattern. So if you can look at the things you're juggling, we'll keep it really simple: work, family, and health, right? There are three of the big ones that we're all juggling. How can you think creatively to build communication, build relationships between those pieces to strengthen them? So things as simple as, work and health. Can you enroll in an employee wellness program? Work and family. Can you storytelling? Can you share with your child or spouse something that's going on in work? Simple things like this that can tie things together in your life can really help to make you feel more balanced overall. And of course, this is a highly individualized process. We're all juggling different things. We all have different priorities. So the pattern is going to be different for everyone. And as you can imagine, there are virtually an endless number of possibilities. Some are more linear, right, some of us. Some are a little silly. But there's virtually an endless number of possibilities and ways to combine the things that you're juggling into different patterns. Thank you. Picture, we'll do a little flexibility here. Juggling, of course, requires focus and flexibility. And sometimes the more you're juggling, you can actually feel more balanced if you arrange them in the correct way, right? So if you're juggling two over here, I'm actually pretty off balance, right? I've got two over here. If I add in another two now, I'm nice and even. So it depends on all different arrangements, how you arrange those pieces of your life. And I'll show off a little bit here, a little higher. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Oh, I'm missing. Okay.
And in heels too.
And juggling in heels.
A dress and heels.
So, all right, so we've got break it down, right? Let's move on down the list. A, ask for help. So that's part of the reason why you're all here, to build a support network, to connect with other people in your field. I'd actually like to do a quick little demonstration with somebody. If anybody's willing to come up here and do a little demo with me about working together, I'm going to have to pick someone. Any volunteers? Any volunteers? Okay, right here. Come on up. Let's give her a nice round of applause.
I don't have to juggle any balls, right?
Yes. Oh, yes, you do. What's your name?
I'm Joy.
Joy, nice to meet you. Are you right-handed or left-handed?
I'm right-handed.
All right, step right over here. Just watch this wire. Oh, you've got some nice ones. Come a little closer. And you're going to extend your right hand. Beautiful. All right. Ready? So I'm going to throw this one over to you. You're going to catch it and throw it right back to me. Excellent. It's a lot harder with all these people watching. You're doing great. Focus on that ball. We're throwing one. Focus up on the top of the arc. Beautiful. Woo. There we go. Excellent, Joy. Now we're utilizing Joy's strength, right? She's right-handed. So when you collaborate, you want to try to utilize your partners and team strengths. I'm going to throw one back to you, Joy. There we go. 1, 2. Excellent. Look at that. She's doing great. 1, 2. 1, 2. Now it gets a little bit harder for Joy. I throw first this time. When you see the ball here, you're going to throw yours to me. Got it?
Okay, wait. Do that one.
I'm going to throw this juggling ball. When it gets right here to the top, you're going to throw yours to me and try to catch this one. Got it?
Okay.
All right, we get a few tries on the hard
It's
one.
going to hit the floor. I want y'all to know that.
It's okay, it's okay. Here we go.
Careful, Bob.
1, 2. That's it. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Wait a little bit longer before you release. 1, 2. That's it. 1, 2. 1, 2. Give it up for Joy. All right, we're on fast forward here since we only have a little bit of time. So we're going to fast forward. We're going to try 3. It may not work, but that's okay. We're going to try. Now the pattern just continues. The cycle repeats. Right, left, right, left. You ready? Every time you see every time you see a juggling ball here, you throw yours back to me. All right?
Okay.
Don't think too much about it. We're just going to embrace it. We're just going to feel it. Here we go. 1, 2, throw. Yes. That was it. We got this. We're going to try it again. 1, 2. Beautiful. Wow. One more try. We got this. 1, 2. 1, 2. Yes, that was it. Give us a excellent job. If we had more time, we'd really work that. But you get the idea. When you work together, you can accomplish more faster, and you can have more fun. So it's so important to build that community personally and professionally. And I find it so helpful to have a coach or a mentor, reach out, offer value. What can you do to help this person rather than just take, and really try to build those relationships. As we're navigating and trying to find our own path, a coach or a mentor can be so helpful. You know, I've had a great experience with a coach, just helpful in helping you figure out, are you on the right path and you're just not quite there yet, or maybe you veered off and need to course correct. So that can be really super helpful. So let's keep moving on down the list. We've got L, learn from the drops. This one's pretty self-explanatory and pretty important. We all make mistakes. We want to learn from our mistakes and move on. They're stepping stones to success, and oftentimes they can lead us to creative solutions that we may have never considered otherwise. And there are so many famous examples of famous failures. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Oprah Winfrey was told she was unfit for TV. The Beatles were rejected from a record label and told they would never make it in show business. So it's so important to try it, drop it, pick it up, and try it again. You know, jugglers just know that dropping is part of the learning process. We expect to do it, and we know that we're making progress the more we're dropping and the more we can figure out and look and see, where did that land? Oh, it landed too far over there. I've got to adjust my throw. So try it, adjust, try it again. And finally, let it go, right? Just let it go. So a couple different meanings. You can't learn to juggle unless you let go and throw the ball. Sometimes we have to let go of perfection, right? Done is better than perfect. Because perfect doesn't exist, and most of the time if we're striving to be perfect, we're just procrastinating because there's some fear and of some story we're telling ourselves. So let go of those stories and tap into what's really important to you and just throw the ball. So I want to finish off with a little bit of juggling for you. We're going to throw on some music, and this is a piece that I think helps to illustrate the creative process and how to think outside the box. You'll see a literal box here, to be open to new possibilities. And then I'd love to connect with you afterwards. Thanks. All right, here we go. Wind it up. to really strengthen those connections, because the connections give us space for creativity, which ultimately helps us to really make a positive change in our lives. So thank you so much, and I'll see you afterwards.